feels like
It's not too far off, though.
No, feels like 90. This thing's going to drop my phone.
Well, hello, everyone. We're going live. We are live, actually.
I got to lower my...
Tell you what, it's been a heck of a week. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Sorry, technical malfunction here. Whoops, it looks like it kicked me off. Shit. Did it? Am I still on? Oh yeah, I guess I'm still on. All right.
Good.
My the thing that holds my phone dropped my phone. Get it back up here. Just move my laptop here a little bit. All right, get myself squared away, straightened out here. All right. Okay, I think we're back in business. Things got a little dicey there for a second.
That's okay. Kat, how you doing?
Good. It's a little warm for me, Dan.
That's okay. It is a little warm. It's been a bit warm this week up here in Seattle. For those of you watching in Florida, we know what you're
laughing
through.
at us. I know.
That's right. Yes, that's right.
We can't hang with it here in the Pacific Northwest. We don't have what it takes.
That's right.
I'm happy to admit that.
But I'm willing to go toe to toe with the Floridians for winter rights. Like if they can make it up here through about the October through June period with our gray weather and drizzle, if they can make it through that, fair enough. I like our chances on that.
Okay.
We'll send them whimpering home back to Miami. Hey, we got some big things coming up tomorrow. Just wanted to kind of throw that out there.
Okay.
Okay, so just a little backdrop. We've got the CPI, Consumer Price Index, coming up tomorrow, right? Big report, probably the second biggest report now that influences interest rates. Used to be the first biggest report. I would say now the biggest report is employment report, right? It came out a week ago. Employment report was a little bit weak. Not super weak, but not strong. And you looked under the hood and you looked at all the internal data and all that kind of stuff. It's pretty clear that the employment market is weakening. There's no question. It's definitely slowing down.
Yeah.
And so the CPI numbers coming out tomorrow, very interesting going into it. So let's take a real quick look at what the expectations are. And so right now, the current we got two measures of consumer price index of inflation that we're going to be looking at tomorrow. One is the core CPI, and the other is just the regular CPI. Okay, and so the regular old CPI right now is at 3.41%, and then the core CPI is at 2.57. Core CPI is probably a better measure of inflation right now, and the reason for that is that the shelter component of CPI comes in at like 45% of the entire index. I mean, it's a huge weighting.
Yeah.
And so it's you're probably looking if you're looking at the core CPI, it comes in at 21%. So the thing is, we are overstating shelter costs by a pretty considerable amount, and in doing so, you're also overstating CPI by quite a bit.
Right.
Okay, so if you're looking at, for example, if you're looking at current CPI, it's at 3.41%. If you're looking at core CPI, it's at 2.57%. And we're at a point where we could definitely see lower rates. Rates, I think about 10 days ago, we did one of our live streams at the end of the week, and I was saying, I think interest rates are going to go down, and over the course of the next, week or two, and they're basically flat from where we were talking, right?
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they're just exactly flat.
Exactly flat. But in the meantime, there was a big trade put on like the day after I was talking about it, and they were shorting a bunch of treasuries into a thin market. So you had rates come up for one day and then they started coming right back down the next day. Anyway, we're right back to where we started on that day. But what's interesting is you have a core CPI coming in at 3.41. The expectations are for core CPI to come in slightly lower, to have a slight improvement. Same thing with core CPI. So that's basically what the expectations are. But having said that, I think we're going to continue to see what's interesting. I'll go to the next chart. Is that this is a chart called Truflation, and this measures tens of thousands of inputs for inflation, as opposed to the government numbers, which do not measure tens of thousands. They measure about, I don't know, 12 or 13 different inputs. But this Truflation measure is really interesting because it's measured daily, and you could really see the changes that we had going back into the March-April period, where you saw Truflation really spiking up coming out of the new year, and now we've been coming down gradually ever since. And right now we're at a 1.87% inflation rate, which is interesting because if you're looking at 1.87% and you take that as your actual inflation rate, we don't really have an inflation problem, right? And so that's the problem that we have is not necessarily an inflation problem. It's a measurement problem. It's a government statistics problem. But it's not really an inflation problem. So we'll see what happens tomorrow. It's going to be an interesting report. And just to give you a quick look-see, let me share the screen. Hang on here. And we'll take a quick look over here at where the Treasury market is at. And right now we closed today at 4.28%. And you can kind of see how that's making its way lower since the end of April, right? We peaked at about 4.75%. Right now we're at 4.28. So we're down just about 50 basis points. But you can also see if we begin to break lower, there's not a lot of support until, significantly lower from here. I mean, you could argue somewhere around, 4.05%, I guess, is maybe a level of support. The first stopping point would be 4.18%, but there's a considerable drop from here. And if the interest rates, and I'll get back to the main screen here, if the interest rates if we do see a slowing economy, we continue to see slower employment numbers coming in, and we continue to see slowing CPI, it just logically is going to fit that we're going to see lower interest rates in the immediate future. So we'll see what happens.
We'll see what happens.
See.
Keep saying that.
Well, and it's been an interesting.
I believe you.
It's been a very interesting period in time. It really has. So, but it's been a slow rolling development of the interest rate market.
Yeah. I mean, it's been over a year of being promised that interest rates are coming down, and it's just not happened. So we'll see. Yeah. I mean, I agree. I think the fundamentals are getting closer, and I think that we're going to see a bit of a drop, hopefully, this fall. Hopefully it's enough to spur a little bit of activity in the real estate market and get some people where they can now qualify to buy a home, whereas they maybe felt like the interest rates were just too high and they couldn't justify it. The reasons for sitting on the sidelines. So
right.
Hopefully that does happen this fall,
And the thing is, there have been a lot of calls, and it logically makes sense the way the data has been put together, how it's been coming in. It looks like there was a period of time back in the spring where I think a lot of the experts were expecting to see the economy slip in the late winter, early spring period, and it didn't. It held up, and I think it's basically.
Don't you think partly that's because of the housing market?
Yeah, I think there's been a lot of stimulus. The jobs have all come from government I'll put it this way: the jobs have held up pretty well, better than people expected. And all of the jobs that have held up very well have been government jobs or government-related jobs like healthcare.
Interesting, right?
That's where all the growth has come from, all of it. So,
So not the private sector.
not the private sector. And one thing you were seeing about the private sector right now is a lot of bankruptcies coming into the system. A lot of bankruptcies. We set new highs this past, I think it was reported a day or two ago, with the number of bankruptcies coming into the system. So they're certainly not going to be adding to hiring in the private sector going forward. The other part of the problem is construction is usually the lead going into a downturn, and construction has actually held up pretty well. But a lot of the projects are coming offline now. They've already been developed. And you can see that in the leading numbers for permits and things like that, and the number of new both multifamily and single family residents being built. So a lot of the peak in new construction has already passed, and they haven't had a lot of layoffs yet, but the peak of new construction has definitely passed. So we'll see what happens going forward, but it sure looks like going forward we're going to continue to see a slowdown. And I want to add one thing real interesting, and then we'll kind of get over to King County and Stats by Cat for this week. But I want to take a look at sort of a derivative of Stats by Cat, and that is a little chart that I have put together based on Stats by Cat with the number of houses, the percentage of houses that have sold in the first 7 days. And I thought what's interesting is we've been talking about all of this. If you look at the chart, weekly on our live stream.
It's interesting. It looks like January is where it peaked.
Yeah, first week of February.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Right. Yep.
Yeah, first week of February, peaked at I think 68%, and then because there was and we were talking about
inventory.
No inventory. That's exactly what we were talking about at the time, and there was no inventory. And it's interesting how we got out of the gate so quickly in January, just shot right up. And then we kind of hovered up in the 60% range until April 24th, I believe it was.
When interest rates went up.
They went up, and it's also cyclically, as you've mentioned several times, the number one time to sell is April, third week of April. That's right. And if you see where things held up until it was the third week of April. Week of April, 62%. That's where it held up. And then after the third week of April, we've seen a pretty precipitous slide.
Yep. Now we're down in the 30s and 40s for that first 7 days.
And now, yes, that's right. I think this latest number came in at 42%. And so I thought that was an interesting chart. And it's kind of dovetailed exactly as you've described. For the last year.
It shows very nicely the real estate cycle, the norm, because it's a fairly normal real estate cycle. Where you see that little dip there in the end of April, beginning of May, and then it goes back up. It's because interest rates came back down again. And so you get these minor adjustments. But for the most part, that's a fairly normal cycle for sellers, the percentage of sellers to get under contract within the first 7 days on the market. So, right, because prices typically start lower. It's interesting because the cycle is different, but the logic follows.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. I mean, it fits exactly into the numbers that you put out as far as the January.
Our expectations.
And the January through June price increases, and that we've talked about in the past, and. All that stuff fits, it's like rock solid, no question about it, evidence that it's a very solid, predictable cycle.
Yep.
And so I just thought it was really interesting. And I guess we can kind of segue over to Stats by Cat, or to the.
Okay, good, because I'm short timing it. I got to be out of here in 15 minutes.
Oh, sorry about that. I kind of babbled on there a little bit. Sorry about that, Cat.
Your 2 minutes turns into 20. I'm just saying. And so does
Well,
my 2 minutes. I'll be ready in 2 minutes. That turns into 22. To be fair, tit for tat. I'll give myself. I'm not picking on Dan. Anyway, yeah, so got a new buyer, picked up a new buyer this week. Chelsea, I'll say her first name. And she's from Michigan, but she's been living here 5 years and just been renting a place, just kind of waiting for the market to settle down or interest rates to come back down. She wanted to be here for about a year before she made her move. And then all of a sudden, prices were skyrocketing in 2020, 2021. And then we had interest rates double, more than double. And so then that was a bother, a very big deterrent. And now she's finally just over waiting. She's just done waiting. She has an income and enough saved where she can actually afford to buy a reasonably nice home in our area and survive, and and pay her bills and still live a lifestyle that she enjoys. So we set out to find her that perfect home. She has a dog, a small dog, similar to Mr. Fat Tuesday, I might add. And she rides a motorcycle, and turns out she sails, I think professionally, I don't think for a job, but I think she participates in these major sailing adventures. So anyway, I think that's very cool. And she also is learning to fly. I'm like, wow. Admire all of that. I really do. So she's living her best life. There's just no question there. But she's been really fun to work with. We probably went out 6 out of 8 days, maybe 7 out of 8 days after I met her on a Tuesday. And we looked at various homes. I created a short list for her that I thought were good values with the privacy that she wanted and within her price point. And she would, let me know what the new listings were that looked interesting each day. And so we would take, 2 to 5 houses and knock them out every single day. And then she'd express some interest, and I'd shoot her over the inspection report if there was one. And we finally came across one that was a 2-story, not a split level. We ran into a lot of split levels in the Mill Creek area. And this one was a 2-story, and she really likes a 2-story. And this one was really cool. It's open across the staircase as you go up on a level. It's open so you can see the vaulted ceilings. It's really, and from the entry as well, the vaulted ceiling and the entry. So it makes the staircase feel very open and the home feel very open and light. And of course, it's completely private to the back, Dan, because she wants her privacy. And I don't blame her. I am that person too. So she was a great client for me because I understood the whole thing. So
two peas in a pod.
Peas in a pod when it came to that, we went to a house and there was 2 houses right there looking at you, 2 stories. And I'm like, this ain't a fly. I mean, you plant Leyland cypress, you're 15 years before you start to cover those puppies. So, because they were located up a hill from you too. So they were kind of above you. Anyway, so this is a great home. Very cool, walkable neighborhood with lots of sidewalks and trails. She could walk to probably Mill Creek Town Center. Anyway.
Nice.
We did do a bully offer, Dan. So I
love those bully offers. I just like the name bully offer. You're coming in strong.
Yes. Well, this is the deal. So it was between that house and another one, and she quickly X'd off the other one. And so, she had 2 choices. She could wait. The offer, it was listed on like a Tuesday. We were discussing this on Thursday or Friday. And the offer review was Tuesday. So we were going to try to get the seller to take it off the market on Friday for us. So we were trying to figure out where to come in at. And, I no longer believe that we need to do 10% in our area. South Snohomish County typically is not going to require 10% over anymore. I think closer to 5 is a much more comfortable place to be. And a lot of times sellers are only getting 1 or 2 offers anyway on their offer review date, but this particular home did seem to have a lot of interest. And of course, we submitted our bully offer, which was about 40% over asking, or 40%, no, not 40%, 4% over asking price. And she was fully underwritten. So she did have an ace in the hole, right? And she had a good down payment, very well qualified, came in with a fully underwritten pre-approval, I might add, from Rocket Mortgage. That's a whole nother story. We'll talk about that later.
Oh no, I'd like to hear about that. That's interesting.
Okay, it is interesting. Okay, so I hate to put it out there on social media.
That's okay, no problem.
But yeah. So what happens when you're a realtor? Like I'm a realtor, working realtor, and I have a client that I get referred to me, and they're ready to roll, right? Pre-approval letter in hand. Actually, this was fully underwritten, and it said fully underwritten. It said underwritten for credit, right? Credit, assets, and employment. So I call the lender, like doing my due diligence as a good real estate broker prior to submitting the offer. And I said, hey, looks like your client has been fully underwritten. Is that correct? And she says, yes, we've done a lot of work on her. And so I had no reason to wonder if that were accurate or not. And anyway, so bottom line is it wasn't exactly accurate. And the sellers are relying on getting accurate information from the buyer's agent. So it put me in a bit of an awkward situation. In the end, they had verified assets and her employment, and they probably did a soft credit pull. That's not really being fully underwritten, but it's close. Right. So, but that's an uncomfortable situation that lenders can put realtors in, because that's, you could nearly call that fraud, I would say. So, because it puts me in a position of really misrepresenting.
It does. Yeah.
Lending. And so I was very upset.
I'm sorry to hear that.
No, I mean, of course. I mean, because my client gets a call from her lender and says, oh, by the way, I'll send you over the application. And when she mentioned to me in a phone conversation, I had to get off the phone because I didn't want to address it improperly, and I just got floored. So I got off the phone. I thought about it.
Yes.
Another lender. I called Robert in my office because I had to talk to him about another client anyway. Yeah. And he said, oof, have I heard that before? And I was like, really? Because I did my due diligence. I didn't just rely on the letter itself. I also went a step further. I called the loan officer, and I kept calling and texting until they finally answered my call, which took all afternoon. Right. So, I don't know what the moral to the story is that maybe as realtors, as good realtors, we can ask the question, to the client even, have you made application? I just assumed when she presented me with her fully underwritten approval for the loan that she
had been fully underwritten.
Right, that she had obviously made application already. Fortunately, on the financing form, I left that at 5 days, and a lot of times I tighten that up to 1, but because the market's not that competitive right now, I just leave those things alone. I don't try to tighten things unnecessarily, because it does give a person an opportunity to move their financing from one lender to another, as long as they're getting the same loan type. So I do like to leave that flexibility, especially when it was Rocket Mortgage. So I'm not trying to badmouth Rocket Mortgage, but that really happened. So I feel like I'm entitled to say that. So, in the end, I think all's well that ends well.
That ends well, yeah.
So, I believe that everything is going to work out fine on that end. I did have another lender take a look at an application that she went ahead and made application with another lender as well, and in my office, and so that loan officer said that things looked very strong for her. So that did make me feel a bit better.
Well, that's good. Well, I'm glad everything's getting taken care of.
I talked to Robert about it because we were talking about I can't remember. Anyway, we had another client we were talking about. One that hid the money under the mattress. Anyway, all these things, you guys. Who knew you're ever going to be put in these situations? Anyway, so, but bottom line is, we got her into a house. We're under contract and moving along nicely, and she's very excited. So,
Good.
Very fun client to work with, and I think in the long run, everything's going to shake out just fine. It just, it's good for us realtors to, think a little bit more outside the box and maybe ask the question, hey, has your client actually made application? Because
Right.
I guess pre-approval letters and fully underwritten letters can just be written on paper. And there's, nothing to substantiate that any work's been actually done. In this case, we did have work done, but still the application had not been made. And to me, that would be a requirement of a fully underwritten approval. So.
Yeah, you kind of think that, but
Yeah.
Oh well.
But at least they checked assets and income. But I just don't think that's okay. So anyway, let's see. How are we doing on time? We might not get to stats here. What's the time here?
422.
4:20. Okay. All right.
You want to go to
King
Snohomish?
So
King County.
Let's do King. Yeah. So 1.2 months supply of inventory in King County.
Yep.
The average sales price has gone up 7% year over year. That's June to June. Let's see. What do we want to hit on here? 42% of listings went under contract within the first 7 days if they listed between June 23rd and June 29th. Did I say 42%?
I think you did say 42%.
Excellent, because that's what it is. And then 51% of sellers got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between June 9th and June 22nd. And we had 45% of sellers set offer review dates in King County last week. So Snohomish County, 1.1 month supply of inventory. And I'm going to let you guys know, hey, listen, inventory did tick back a little bit because of the holiday. So a lot of people neglected not to list over July 4th weekend. And we had a lot of buyers opting to buy. So there was a huge increase in buyers typically that weekend than the previous weekend and a lot less sellers. So we necessarily chewed up some inventory over the holiday weekend. So July 4th weekend was a very good buying weekend. So we had Snohomish County is up 9% year over year, June to June. 35% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between June 23rd and June 29th. 49% of sellers in Snohomish County got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between June 9th and June 22nd. And we had 40% of sellers in Snohomish County set offer review dates. Should we do Pierce?
Let's go to Pierce.
Pierce, 1.5 months supply of inventory. And I think that stayed the same, I believe. And Pierce County is only up 2% year over year, and not a lot of growth there. 30% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between June 23rd and June 29th in Pierce County. 39% of sellers got under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between June 9th and June 22nd. And only 19% of sellers opted to set offer review dates. And I pulled a bunch of information and data on offer review dates in Snohomish and King counties. I'm going to be out at the Woodinville concerts this evening. If anybody wants to stop by, I'm actually bringing that data with me, as well as some stats by Cat for Snohomish and King counties that I pulled this week. So if anybody wants to stop by the Windermere booth, I will be there with my colleagues, and you guys can pick up your stats by Cat in person. And if you want it emailed to you, then you just need to email me at cathoward@windermere.com. That starts with a K. Or call me on my phone number or text me 206-465-2622. And I'd be happy to sign you up for Stats by Cat. Should we do Mason?
Let's go to Mason.
Mason, 2.4 months supply of inventory. And that did go down, you guys. Somebody's sending me hearts. I love your hearts, you guys. I need to be hearted today. I'm having a hard day. Let's see. We got 23% of sellers in Mason County getting under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between June 23rd and June 29th. We had we got 21% of sellers getting under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between June 9th and June 22nd. So that couple of weeks, it was a little rougher for Mason County.
Hey, Kat, I got a quick question for you.
Sure.
Did you get any diamonds today, or just hearts?
Not that I know of, but I'm getting hearts, and I love the hearts. Thank you guys. I can't tell, but I think a couple people followed me.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So that's always nice.
That's
So
good.
19% of sellers set offer review dates in Mason County. So those numbers are going down. The offer review date, setting the offer review dates is going down kind of across the board. Skagit has an interesting market. So a couple weeks ago, they were smoking.
Not this week.
No, Skagit County, 1.5 months supply of inventory. 22% of sellers got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between June 23rd and June 29th. But we had 48% of sellers in Skagit County get under contract within the first 14 days on the market if they listed their home between June 9th and June 22nd. So that was a very good week, good 2 weeks for Skagit County, and that would have been 2 weeks ago. So, and only 19% of sellers set offer review dates in Skagit County. So it could be because they're feeling that market slow down.
Right.
So Kitsap County, 1.3 months supply of inventory. 40% of the sellers there got under contract within the first 7 days on the market if they listed their home between June 23rd and June 29th. And 41% of sellers got under contract if they listed their home between June 9th and June 22nd, they got under contract within the first 14 days on the market. So I said that backwards. And 20% of sellers in Kitsap County set offer review dates last week. So offer review dates kind of on the slide. I don't have time to get into them today. I got to leave, dang it, because I put together cool data. I have cool data, Dan.
Do you want to do it quick, or do you want to wait till next week?
We could, or we could do another live tomorrow or whatever. I don't know.
It sounds like
I got to go to the office. I got to get to the office before the
get to the
concert
office.
because I got to pick up my flyers. I'm having the office print my flyers for me. So I'll have flyers to hand out to people at the concert.
Well, it should be
by the Windermere booth.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
there's going to be quite a few of us there tonight. And Lisa's going to be there. Gail Murchison's going to be there. Michelle Sullivan, Robert Tamferani. Let's see, Amber Hunt, our attorney, will be there. So that's the people that I know are showing up. But it should be fun, you guys.
Nice.
Yeah.
We'll have a good time, and
Thank you, Jen.
And we will talk again soon.
Okay, TikTokers, that was fun. See you later. Thank you for all the hearts.